So I have another story for you. You guys know Kris Kristofferson, right? He's a country music Hall of Famer amongst many talents, and probably my favorite song he sings is Me and Bobby McGee. Well, a Rolling Stones article dated June 6, 2016 shares with us that Kris's long-diagnosed Alzheimer's turned out to be Lyme disease. In the article, Kris's wife, Lisa, shares with us that 12 years prior, Kris was first diagnosed with fibromyalgia. She says that looking back, it should have been the first indication that a test for Lyme was warranted. She tells us that they suspect Kris has been infected with Lyme anywhere from 14 to 30 years, because looking back, Kris used to have chronic muscle spasms, which is a common symptom of Lyme. In describing his fibromyalgia, Kris's wife Lisa talks about how he had these massive painful spasms all over his back and legs. His nerve endings were causing golf ball-sized painful contractions that they battled with acupuncture, heat, and massage. Eventually, he was given a spinal cortisone shot by a rheumatologist and a low-dose antidepressant. Lisa tells us that 2 years earlier, Kris had spent 6 weeks in the woods in rural remote Vermont. He was making a film called Disappearances. If you remember, yesterday I shared with you that Vermont has the highest incidence of Lyme disease in the nation. As time went on, Kris was additionally diagnosed with moderate to severe sleep apnea. He ended up with painful knees and annual knee shots and a pacemaker for arrhythmias, which Lisa shares they now know could be from Lyme. Lisa tells us that Kris took so much Advil for his headaches that he became anemic. Eventually, Lisa ended up taking Kris to an integrative doctor. When he examined Kris and watched the muscles in his forearms constantly twitch, he announced he's got Lyme disease. He ordered a blood test. The first from LabCorp came back suspicious, and the second blood test from IGeneX came back positive. This was February 2016. Lisa also shares with us that before being diagnosed with Lyme disease, Kris was treated for the past 3 years by 2 different neurologists for Alzheimer's. He was on 2 different drugs for it. Maybe you've heard of them, Namenda and Exelon patches. But finally, a spinal tap and functional MRI ruled out Alzheimer's, so Kris quit those meds and the antidepressant for fibromyalgia. At that time, they did test him for Lyme in the spinal fluid, but it was negative. However, Kris's doctor explained to Lisa that the reason it didn't show up back then is because Lyme lives in the tissue, not the fluid. Lisa tells us that when they found out that Kris's Lyme test did come back positive, they immediately started treatment. Kris's treatment included doxycycline, Alinea, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and transcranial magnetic stimulation. The great news is since treatment, Kris is back on the road and doing all the things that he loves.